Hello everyone, it's me Jamie, welcome to another video. So today I'm just going to do my very simple February wrap up. I only read 4 books in February. It wasn't the best reading month for me, but thought I would talk about the books nevertheless. So yeah, this video is probably going to be kind of short, and I am going to be using the same format that I used in my last wrap up video where I don't really mention the synopsis of each book. I just mainly talk about my thoughts. But yeah, okay, without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first book I read in February was The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. Obviously we all know Talia Hibbert. She is a black British romance author, and I really decided to try and give one of her other books a go that wasn't The Brown Sisters, just because I love The Brown Sisters so much. I thought it would be interesting to see how she writes other characters that maybe she isn't so like, there isn't like a bigger world for those characters, if that makes sense. I loved the idea of this book because it has a fake engagement, it has like enemies to lovers. Our main character, the female main character, is so amazing. She's so sassy, she knows how beautiful she is and she uses it to her advantage. She really works the system. And our prince character is a little more like timid and he's got trauma. I just really liked the characters. I really liked how they developed, and I really liked all the tropes that Talia included in this particular story. It was interesting though because I felt like our heroes were really never on the same level. Like at the beginning, I loved our main character Cherry so much. I loved our girl. She was so beautiful, she was so sassy, she was badass. And then at the ending, I really preferred our male character Ruben. I feel like there was never a moment where I really loved them together. I mostly just loved them as individuals. I also forgot to say I actually rated this 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's just because it started so strongly and then kind of like petered down. I thought that Talia Hibbert could have done a better job at balancing the backstory of our characters, of Ruben specifically with all of his trauma, and then also with our actual romance and sex scenes as well. It almost felt like there was too much sex and not enough substance. I did really like the representation of a dom-sub relationship. I feel like 50 Shades of Grey really did that particular kink dirty when it comes to romance books, whereas this book did it really nicely and really well. Obviously we have a lot of representation. Our main female is black, she is plus sized, and she also has a sister with chronic illness. I believe her sister actually has the same illness that Chloe Brown has in Get a Life Chloe Brown. So Talia Hibbert has obviously like done her research when it comes to that sort of like illness and stuff like that. I honestly just think this book, while it had really amazing characters, was just a little bit messy, a little bit disjointed. It just also felt too short. Like I felt like there wasn't enough of certain topics, but like, yeah, definitely too much sex, because I feel like the sex overshadowed what was really actually important about the book. Yeah, ultimately I think this book is rather forgettable and I don't really think I'll be thinking about it much in the future, but it was really nice to see Talia Hibbert do something other than the Brown Sisters, and I'm definitely still going to be picking up other books by her. The next book I read in February was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. I read this in the space of 2 days, and I was in a bit of a reading slump while I was reading The Princess Trap, so it was really good to read something that I could just pick up and fly through. This is a very hard-hitting YA contemporary, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, but I have seen some criticisms for it that I think are valid. But in terms of how I felt about it, I thought it was a really good book. I feel like the way this book describes rape culture is really important. It's really hard to read. I recommend going into this with caution because it has very explicit on-page rape that our character has to relive several times throughout the novel. This book made me cry. There were passages that really made me cry when it comes to our character. There was some moments where our character was really kind of almost doing inner child work while she was working through and coming to terms with her trauma, which I found to be just really heartbreaking and really sad to read. Inner child work is something that I did a lot when I was at drama school, which just sounds like the most drama school thing that I've ever said. But yeah, it was something that I was just kind of like, oh my god, like it was just really rough. A lot of people say that they really hated our main character, but I actually really connected with her. I really liked her, and I just thought obviously like the way that she was acting at times was really awful, but when you actually understood why she was acting like that, it just made you empathize with her so much more. There was a certain relationship in here as well that I really liked reading about. It was, if you have read this book, it was the relationship with Eden and Josh. I just found that particular relationship to be so heartbreaking because it was just like, oh, this could be the perfect couple in like an alternate universe, but These poor things. I'm just so sad. This book just made me genuinely so sad. I would say the reason I didn't give it 5 stars is just because I thought the ending was a little too, it just wrapped up a little bit too nicely, I think. I really wanted to see Eden repair her relationship with her best friend and repair her relationship with her brother. But yeah, I do at the end of the day think this is a very well written book. It was absolutely heartbreaking. Definitely be cautious when going into it. But I think this is just like the sort of hard-hitting contemporary that I talk about when I say how much I love hard-hitting contemporaries, because this just like tore me in half and I really loved it. The next book I read in February was Frostbite by Rochelle Mead, which is the second book in the Vampire Academy series. I actually read this for the Saint Vladimir's read-along, which is a read-along hosted by Sandy Reads a Lot, Transformers, and read by Tiffany. I've talked about it so much on my channel, like if you watch my videos you know what it is by now. And I actually took part in their live show discussing the book, so I will link that down below rather than go fully in depth with my thoughts here. But all you need to know is that I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love the Vampire Academy series. I would do anything for Adrian Ishkov, who is my favourite character, and that's it. Read the Vampire Academy series as an adult because it's so good. I fucking love it. And the final book that I read in February is actually a book that I finished today, and it is Stamped Racism, Anti-Racism and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. This is a non-fiction book about racism in America, essentially. It basically says that it's a history book that's not a history book. It really just goes into the depth of the history of racism and where it all came from, and what is a anti-racist idea and a racist idea. This was a really great place to start for me because I have never actually read a non-fiction book before when it comes to like activism and politics and racism. Most of the non-fiction books I've read have usually been like biographies. This was a really accessible book to get into with that sort of topic, and I can't wait to get into more. I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. It was just really expertly written, and written in a way that like I felt was quite easy to understand all the ideas that our authors were talking about. I definitely learned a lot, and also I feel like this book almost was written with some humor as well. Like it definitely didn't read like here's just all this information and learn it, and here's all this history, and here's all these like you know theories and ideas, learn them. It was actually written in a way that kind of really made me enjoy reading it. Like there's this really great passage where the author was talking about Thomas Jefferson, and he said Thomas Jefferson must have been the first person in the world to say, I'm not racist, I have black friends. And you know, it was just little jokes like that about like white people being idiotic, which just made it kind of like a really fun non-fiction read where I could still learn a lot. I actually picked this up because it was the Goodreads Choice Awards winner for non-fiction for 2020, which is how it got on my radar, and now I'm so glad I did, and I cannot wait to pick up some more non-fiction books that are a little bit more dense than this one. This one is quite a short book and it is very simple to read, so I am really excited to expand my reading when it comes to non-fiction and expand my learning. I feel like this is a really good book to pick up if you have never read non-fiction before and you do want to educate yourself. This honestly should be required reading in schools, because when I was in high school, I'm not in America, but when I was in high school in my last year, I studied the Civil War and history, and I honestly learned so much more from reading this book than I did in that history class. I'm just really glad I read this, and I'm definitely keen to pick up more non-fiction books and do my research, and yeah. So yeah, that is everything for this February wrap up. Sorry, I know it was so short. Thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry it's been a bit lazy, it's been a bit short, but yeah, I'm in lockdown at the moment and Headspace is weird. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you very soon in another video. Bye.
She said, Cindy, don't cry, and I don't